I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. A Michigan anti-bullying bill draws fire for last-minute religious exceptions. I'll talk to the bill's sponsor to find out if the new language is a poison pill. Plus, a beloved Brooklyn bishop celebrates a big milestone.
I knew him since I was in 7th grade. His message is the message that you give your life to Christ, and that's the best thing you can do with your life.
And believe it or not, it's Election Day 2011, and we'll have a preview of Election Day 2012.
I think the greatest threat to my success would be President Obama, and I'm planning on beating him soon.
Well, good evening, and thanks so much for joining us tonight. Is an anti-bullying bill in Michigan actually a license to bully? Well, that's what many people in the state are saying after a last-minute change to Matt's Safe School Law. It's named after Matt Epling, a freshman high school student who killed himself in 2002 after upperclassmen bullied him. The bill passed in the state Senate last week, but still has to survive in the House. And people who originally supported the measure say it's been weakened now after senators added wording which says the bill, quote, does not prohibit a statement of sincerely held belief or moral conviction, end quote. Now here's how Kevin Epling, the father of the boy the bill's named after, interpreted that change.
At issue is that the Republican leadership at the last minute added a paragraph to Matt's Safe School Law that would basically say it is okay to bully or to ignore instances of bullying based on your own religious belief and or moral convictions, which is contrary to the rest of the bill, and it is definitely contrary to what I have been telling students to step in and step up when they see this taking place in their school.
But the bill's sponsor, Michigan State Senator Rick Jones, says the change does not give students a license to bully, but it rather protects free speech rights of students. And for more on that, I'm joined now on the phone by State Senator Rick Jones of Michigan. Senator, thanks so much for taking some time out for us. Really appreciate it very much.
Yes, good to talk with you.
Well, in the introduction there, was there anything that we got wrong? How do you think we set it up here?
Yes, I thought it was correct. You ready to go ahead?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, from your point of view as the bill's sponsor, what is the intention of this bill, and what does it actually say?
Okay. The intention of my bill was to make sure every school in Michigan had a bullying policy, and it would require that within 6 months of passage, every school would have that policy in place. They would have a public meeting, bring students, parents, administrators, teachers, everybody together, and make sure everybody knows they have a bullying policy to safeguard students. At the last minute on the floor, there was an addition made because there was some concern about a situation in Howell, Michigan, where a young man was in class, and it was science class or sex education class, and he made a remark that in his religion he didn't believe in homosexual behavior. The teacher evicted him, he was evicted from school, and it ended up in court. And so we were attempting to make sure that everybody was protected from something like that. However, the other side of the aisle has used this to make some political hay, and so now we have a national story that this bill doesn't do what I intended to do. I'll be working with the State House to change the language because Michigan is one of 3 states in the nation that does not have a bullying law. So we want to make sure that we get this passed. We will clarify the language, and I feel that everybody will vote for it at that time.
So there are some changes ahead. As the bill stands now, though, if it says that it does not, or that the bill does not prohibit a statement of sincerely a statement of sincerely held belief or moral conviction of a student or a school worker. What's to stop a child from picking on someone because of their sexual orientation or because of their race or because of their gender or any other particular circumstance, and saying, well, that's what I believe in my religion, so you can't do anything to me. What's to prevent that under this current language if that were to go forward?
Well, as a former police officer for 31 years, I can tell you that in Michigan, you can commit an assault, you can commit a crime by even verbally attacking someone. And that was not the intent of this bill. The intent was if somebody stated something like that in class, that they would be some safeguards. Of course, the First Amendment already protects them.
Now, of course, as our viewers just saw a moment ago, Matt Epling's dad is not happy with the change. Of course, Matt Epling is the one who the bill is named for. When you hear criticism, especially coming from him, I mean, how does that, as the sponsor of this particular bill, how does that make you feel?
Well, I'm very disappointed. The other side of the aisle immediately called him and got him all worked up, again, I believe, for political purposes. And I want to state that I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Epling. I know he has lost a child. I went and attended a play with him that portrays the death of his child. It's called Bully Side. And I have a great deal of respect for him. And I will continue to work with him to get a bill that he's happy with, and we can protect all of our children here in Michigan.
What was it that caused you to bring this bill up in the first place? I understand bullying and that whole issue kind of hits pretty close to home for you, doesn't it?
It certainly does. In one of my communities, a girl was bullied at school. She was a little different. She ended up becoming depressed, going to her grandfather's home, taking his gun, and ending her life. Her grandfather was my training officer when I was a 21-year-old deputy sheriff. So that certainly hit home. I also had a son who had a blood problem right after birth. Oxygen was cut off, and he is permanently mentally handicapped. He speaks differently, has different mannerisms, and had to go through special ed. So he was taunted and harassed as he grew up. He's now a 31-year-old man. But I knew as a father what a student can go through, and I knew as a friend of a family what it's like to lose a child. So I felt very, very strongly that we should make sure every school in Michigan has a bullying policy, public meetings to make sure everybody is on board.
All right, State Senator Rick Jones of Michigan's 24th District, we really appreciate your time, sir, and we'll, of course, continue to follow the bill as it heads through the House and any changes that are made. And we just wish you the best of luck. Thank you for taking some time out for us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, stay with us. There's more currents ahead. Mississippi voters heading to the polls to decide on a personhood amendment. We'll have that and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, the race for the White House is heating up, and we'll size up the current GOP field. First, though, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Well, Mississippi voters headed to the polls today to decide the state's personhood amendment. The measures received mixed reaction. Pro-choice advocates say the bill would ban most, if not all, abortions in many forms of birth control. Pro-lifers, meanwhile, are concerned that the measure includes language that defines a person as, quote, every human being from the moment of fertilization, cloning, or the functional equivalent thereof. The Bishop of Biloxi, Mississippi, issued a letter saying his diocese would not take a position for or against the amendment. Well, meanwhile, the Pope shared his thoughts on personhood during a meeting yesterday at the Vatican. The pontiff's comments came as Benedict received the credentials of the new German ambassador to the Holy See. Now, during the meeting, Benedict said that we are not qualified to judge whether someone is already a person or still a person. The Pope said that only a society that unconditionally respects and defends the dignity of each human from conception to natural end can call itself a human society. An Italian cardinal has survived what appears to have been an attempt on his life. A French news agency reports that an unidentified gunman approached Florence Archbishop Cardinal Giuseppe Bettori and his secretary outside the cardinal's office. The man shot and wounded the secretary and waved his gun at Cardinal Bettori before running away. Now, Bettori's secretary reportedly is in the hospital in satisfactory condition. It's not clear what motivated the attack, but police are still on the lookout for the suspect, who they believe is homeless and mentally disturbed. Well, the Pope's new representative to the U.S. says the Catholic Church in this country is a beacon of hope to the rest of the world. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano tells the Catholic news agency that there are many young religious institutions and many young people in the American church, while Europe has become an old continent. Vigano will assume his new post on Saturday, and he'll meet with U.S. bishops at their fall assembly in Baltimore next week. The bishop's anti-poverty program is defending its record amid accusations it provides grants to organizations that conflict with church teaching. The heads of the Catholic Campaign for Human Development says that the charges brought by the pro-life organization the American Life League are unfounded in all but one case. The director of the program says the campaign conducted its own investigation and found the remaining organizations in question were in compliance with church teaching. Americans want a presidential candidate with strong religious beliefs. At least that's what they say, according to a new survey from the Public Religion Research Institute. 2/3 of voters say it's either very important or somewhat important for a candidate to have strong religious beliefs. Respondents did not believe that candidates needed to hold particular beliefs. Well, the same survey, meanwhile, also showed that a majority of Americans believe the country would be better off if wealth were more evenly distributed. The survey shows that opinions are divided among different age groups. 7 in 10 millennials believe in equal wealth distribution, while a majority of seniors disagree. And trim the tree and deck the halls. No, I did not change my calendar too soon. It looks like the annual Christmas wars may be starting a little bit early. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker says the evergreen in his state's Capitol Rotunda is a Christmas tree. It's been called a holiday tree for the last 25 years following concerns about government endorsement of religion. Now, Walker referred to the tree as a Christmas tree in a press release inviting art teachers, parents, and students to help decorate it. Walker did not call attention to the name change in the process. The president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation called the decision rude and insensitive to non-Christians. Stay with us. There's more currents ahead. When we return, it's a ministry milestone. Bishop Guy Sansaric celebrates more than 50 years.
He's retired as bishop, but he's just as active as he was before, so I'm really happy that he can help us.
Welcome back. One of Brooklyn's beloved bishops celebrated a big anniversary this weekend. Retired Auxiliary Bishop Guy Sansaric marked 51 years as a priest. Bishop Guy was the first Haitian-American bishop, having been named an auxiliary bishop for the Diocese of Brooklyn back in 2006. Now, he's been the director of the National Haitian Apostolate for close to 25 years, and he's been a spiritual father to many since first coming to the Diocese of Brooklyn back in 1971. Well, over the weekend, the Diocese Haitian Apostolate held a celebration to honor Bishop Guy for his many years of pastoral care. And many people, young and old, came out to let the bishop know how much he's appreciated and loved.
I want to tell you, Bishop Guy Sansaric, thank you very much. You will not know on this earth what your work as a gardener, as a shepherd, has accomplished. But in the life to come, Jesus will say to you, we hope and pray, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Well, we're here tonight to honor Bishop Sansaric on his 50th anniversary of ordination to the priesthood. We also celebrate his ordination to the episcopacy. Well, he's worked here for over 20 years and has been a symbol of the Haitian community. Started the Haitian Nationalist Center and pastor one of the biggest Haitian parishes. He is truly seen as a leader among the Haitian community.
It's strange, I was in school and a classmate came to me and says, Guy, you must be a priest. And I pleaded against it for 3 days. And finally I made that decision, and I experienced tremendous joy for about 2 weeks. A joy that I have never experienced since then, and was ordained finally in 1960. And I have never regretted it.
You know, he stayed in my parish for 13 and a half years, so I knew him since I was in 7th grade. And I guess it was the example of, like I said, his humility, his prayerfulness, but also he had a great attraction to the youth because his message rings true, whether it was 30 years ago or now. His message is the message that you give your life to Christ, and that's the best thing you can do with your life.
I think it's his simplicity, his humility, his love for people in general that are attracting everybody to him, because I think he has a gift to understand people.
Well, it feels like every day I'm at the service of the church and of the Lord. And my goodness, I don't think that I have finished my work. There is still a lot to do. And I hope that for the years to come, until my last breath, I will be able to be of service.
He's a very loving person. That's one way I could say it. And I hope that he will never change, that he will carry all of this affection, this ocean of good feeling that's with him tonight will be with him forever.
I wish that he has good health and be able to continue. He's retired as bishop, but he's just as active as he was before, so I'm really happy that he can help us.
Well, congratulations to Bishop Gee. I must say, in the past 2.5 years that I've been here, I've been extremely impressed by Bishop Gee, and yes, his humility and just his extremely wonderful leadership for the people of the diocese and the people of New York as a whole. Stay with us. More currents coming up. Coming up, one of them could be the next president. 1 year before the big election, will run down the current GOP field. Well, finally tonight, as we've already shown you, today is Election Day. And while it may be an off year with Mississippi's Personhood Amendment, which we told you about earlier in the show, and also a battle over union rights in Ohio garnering the most headlines, there's also plenty of focus on next year's elections. The big prize up for grabs right now is the GOP presidential nomination. And who is the front runner? Well, that is really anyone's guess. CNN's Candy Crowley has the latest.
I believe in America, and I'm running for president.
Even before his June announcement, Mitt Romney had a moniker, weak frontrunner. He still is. Technically speaking, that is, in the polls, Romney isn't always first. He has often run second to different people with one thing in common, no staying power.
You have just sent a message that Barack Obama will be a one-term president.
Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann was the summer rage, but the day she won the Iowa straw poll in August, she began to lose her foothold.
Sometimes it kind of takes me a while to get into something like this presidential race, but let me tell you, when I'm in all the way.
Like Bachmann, Texas Governor Rick Perry is what many Republicans think Romney is not, a fiscal and social conservative. Perry was an overnight sensation and frontrunner. Let's just say, though, debates are not his forte.
He was before these social programs from the standpoint of he was for standing up for Roe versus Wade, before he was against Roe versus Wade.
Perry has dropped like a stone, giving way to the next not Mitt Romney.
Bottom line, folks, 999 means jobs, jobs, jobs.
Conservative, likable, breezy, different, businessman Herman Cain caught fire with his 999 tax plan. And then...
But are you concerned about the fact that these women do want to...
What did I say?
Wants to come forward. Are you concerned about...
Excuse me. Excuse me.
It's yet to be shown that Cain will suffer the downward spiral syndrome of Bachmann and Perry before him, but some politicos aren't waiting for absolute proof.
Candy, he was flavor of the month. I think his month is up.
Now some caveats. Even when his closest Republican competitor is imploding, Romney does not rocket back to first. He drifts up, and never much higher than about a quarter of the Republican vote. There is talk of a Romney ceiling. And at this point in the 2008 presidential race, Rudy Giuliani was leading the Republican field. It's why there are still 8 people running for the GOP nomination, holding on for a run at Romney with some staying power.
Running the Field of Dreams campaign, which is if you build it, they will come.
Rick Santorum doggedly meeting and greeting voters in all of Iowa's 99 counties. Ron Paul, a straw poll favorite with arguably the most passionate base and the money to go some distance. Former Speaker Newt Gingrich gaining enough steam recently to push him into double digits, and single-digit John Huntsman betting it all in New Hampshire.
This is a state where conventional wisdom is always upended.
Amidst all of the above, the weak frontrunner has played it like a mortal lock.
I think the greatest threat to my success would be President Obama, and I'm planning on beating him soon.
Looking beyond the Republican primary, he is cool, largely above the fray, with polished debate performances and selected, limited exposure to the media. Careful, careful, careful. Mitt Romney waits patiently for Republicans to gather round.
Will be an interesting race, and that, of course, CNN's Candy Crowley reporting. You know, there's another chance to see the candidates in action tomorrow night with yet another GOP debate. This one will air on CNBC. Well, that's it for this edition of Currents. Now, coming up tomorrow, is the time right to start your own business? A local parish hosts some entrepreneurs. Until then, though, be sure and join us online at currentsny.net. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just look for us at CurrentsNY. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.